So my business is called Social Studio Coaching, and it's relationship and dating coaching. So I work with people, mostly with people who are single and frustrated with their dating experience and who want to find a relationship. So people who, for one reason or another, aren't having the experience with dating or with interacting with people that they want to have. I've always had a really pretty even split. Yeah, I really like working with both men and women, and that's who's ended up finding me. Well, I've always been fascinated by relationships. I've always been just so curious about the dynamics between people and how they connect, and I've always ended up in lots of relationships since I was pretty young. Like, I remember my first relationship was in elementary school. I don't know if you could even call it a relationship, you know. We like held hands once and would like get nervous around each other and hardly speak to each other. But since then on, I've always been really curious about them, and I discovered coaching and went through my coaching certification program, and it was just a natural niche for me to choose relationships and dating. There's some similarities and some differences, so I'll break it down. For women, a lot of the frustrations are, where are all of the men? Where are the attractive men? Or where are the men that I like? I don't know where to find them. It's also, how do you get past a second date? How do you get past a first date into a second, third, fourth date? And I think, so for women, those are two of the big ones. Also, confidence and self-esteem come up a lot. For men, it's often similar, actually, with where do I find women that I really like. But I work with a lot of really, really bright men and women, but I work with a lot of really, really smart men who are in the tech industry. So that seems to be a more specific niche for me that has just kind of found me, and I really like working with them. So a lot of software engineers and programmers, people who spend their whole day in their head, and so they have trouble switching from work mode into, play mode, and being more embodied and more interactive with other people. So I work a lot with men around communication skills, body language, how to inhabit your body and use body language in order to attract women. Same goes for women, but I tend to see that pattern a little bit less for them. And then one more thing is an overarching theme and frustration of not really knowing what people are looking for. So not being sure exactly what they want to find in a partner, and also how they vision the relationship that they want to create isn't completely clear. So I help people a lot with looking at, what do you want to create? What kind of relationship do you want to have, and who do you feel like you could create that with? So what are the qualities that people have that would be a good fit for you? Okay, so again, breaking it up into men and women. For women, I think that the biggest mistake that women do is that they're not as available to men, or they don't express their interest, because we've been told and trained and conditioned to be really coy and to play games. And so even when women like men, they're not always expressing that they like them. Okay. So I find that, and a lot of it's out of shyness or not knowing what to do exactly, and it's vulnerable. I mean, dating and relationships are really an inherently vulnerable experience to be in. You have to put yourself out there. You have to expose yourself and be open to getting rejected. It's a risk. So I think just not sharing that they are interested is one of the things. For men, I think in San Francisco, there are a lot of passive men, not to be overly direct, but men are too passive here. They don't just go after women. They don't show that they like them. It's a culture where men are brought up to be really respectful of women, which is wonderful, but I think a lot of men have a hard time distinguishing between walking that line between respect and also pursuing women. It's like, go buy them a drink, ask them out, follow up with a phone call right away. You don't have to wait for 3 days.
People and
be open for connection. That's like the number one piece of advice that I would give, is be open for connection. We walk around with our earphones in, and we're on our iPhones, and we're scared of making eye contact, and our body language is telling people that we're not available, that we don't want to talk to them. I mean, and I know everyone's guilty of it. I mean, I'm totally guilty of it. Just on the way here, I had my headphones on, and I was like working on my iPhone, and but just the awareness around, if you're going to do it, know that you're shutting yourself off. Know that you're not available for connection, and have it be a deliberate choice that you make. And then when you want to meet people, when you want to be open, really open, put the phone away. From more of an energetic kind of woo-woo, at the risk of sounding woo-woo, I mean, open yourself energetically so that you're available to the people around you, so that you're sending off the message, hi, I'm a human being, and I'm here, and I'm curious about you. This is such a huge question, and it's one that takes a lot of work. I mean, there's no quick fix. There's no, okay, just be yourself, be confident, it takes a lot of work, but it's absolutely doable. And I think one of the places where I start with clients is in looking at, when do they feel most alive? When do they feel most themselves? When do they feel really like in themselves in a good way, like they're in their element, and identifying what are those emotions that they have when they feel that way? What are the circumstances that create that experience of them feeling really confident or really in their element? What are the activities? Do they feel really amazing when they're with just a few people in a quiet space? Or do they feel really good in a really loud and lively bar with music and lots of different people? And is it around food? Is it when they're running? What are the conditions in which they feel really solid in who they are? Because that's when we all shine. That's when you really feel the most grounded in yourself, and from that place, that's when you can be the most confident. It's a funny question, especially in San Francisco, because San Francisco has basically taken all of the gender norms and thrown them out the window, which is part of what I love so much about it. It's like anything goes, and you can do whatever you want here and be accepted for all of that. And when it comes to dating, my personal opinion is that if whoever is asking the person out on a date, that person should pay. So same goes for queer relationships, if it's same-sex partners. Whoever is the person inviting the other person on a date, that person should pay. In most cases, in heterosexual relationships, it's the guy asking the woman on a date. He should pay, if that's the case. If it's switched and the woman's asking the man out on a date, I think she also should ask if, or just go for it. And if he says, oh, no, then, okay, work it out. But I also think that it can be nice sometimes if the person who's asking the other person out on a date goes to grab the bill, and the other person is makes an effort to at least split it, right? At least make the grab for the wallet or whatever, and they can tell you oh, it's fine, and then you can go, okay. So those are my thoughts on that.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, opening doors and things like that are always nice. So, it's a funny place that we're in right now, I think culturally and specifically in San Francisco around the chivalry piece, because again, it's so non-traditional that sometimes it feels overly traditional, or some women get triggered, I can open the door for myself, thank you. I still think it's nice to do things for other people in that way. I mean, I always think it's best to be direct and be open and, open up opportunities for dialogue around this stuff. So, like, hey, I've really been enjoying spending time with you.
How soon, though?
How's it going for you? What are you looking for? This is a question I get all the time, is when to share what you're looking for with the person that you're dating. And it depends, because with online dating, people, you're laying it out there. It's like, I want this, I want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. You have the permission to do that. And so you get to choose people based on how, what they're stating in their profile. When you meet somebody offline and you don't get their whole bio and everything beforehand, I think you can do it as soon as, in some cases as soon as the first date. But again, you have to tune into the situation. You have to tune into the connection. What is the connection ready for? What is going to be comfortable with this person? What's going to be comfortable with one person, like sharing on the first date, that you're looking for a long-term relationship with somebody who you can ultimately start a family with. That might be totally appropriate because your connection with them is solid or open or vulnerable or, whatever. And then with somebody else, that might be way too fast. Third date, I think you should address the question, because beyond that, you don't want to waste your time. So if you're really clear that, you want to have kids and you want to get married, you want to find that out sooner rather than later, so that you're not a year into a relationship and you find out they had a vasectomy. It's never going to happen. Or they don't even want kids, or whatever it is, right? But just to know that you're making a good investment.
Okay.
And to bring transparency and honesty and realness to the dynamic, to the relationship. A lot of business from frustrated online daters, people who have been using online websites, and some people exclusively. Some people don't have time to go to events or look offline for people to date, so they use online exclusively. And if they're not having the results that they want, then they come to me and I help them with their online profile, do a complete, what I call profile makeover, where we rewrite their profile. I have a professional photographer that I work with and send them to her to get their pictures taken and select ones that are great, where you can see them with friends, in action, good close-up picture, full body, the whole thing, so that they get an online profile that really represents them honestly, but also, showcases all the good things about them. Well, with the matchmaking service, they have like a bank, for lack of a better word, of a bunch of people, and so they're taking people that they know and matching them. So they're doing the work for you, basically. They're reading their profiles, and they're interviewing the potential date, the potential people, and then they're matching people up. So, that's what you're paying for, is for somebody else to do the work for you. Whereas online dating, you're doing all of that. Frustration can go really deep. We're talking about finding love. That's huge. Something that every single person wants to find. So the frustration can be really deep. Yeah, it can be, years and years and years, decades of not creating successful relationships, not finding people who they really connect with, and that having tried online dating, matchmaking services, offline dating, speed dating, all kinds of things. And then your question also speaks to something else about coaching that I think is important, is that it's really a personal development process. So yes, we do the online profile makeover, and I help people come up with strategies of offline, plans to create kind of a love plan, or a dating plan, how you're gonna meet people. But additionally, it's a lot of introspective work, really looking at yourself, looking at what do you want, who are you, and what are your blocks to finding love, what are your limiting beliefs around relationships. or what are your beliefs around relationships in general? And really doing some deep work to look at all of that stuff. Because if you're just kind of going out and about to events and meeting people, but you're not actually thinking about your process and what's happening for you, I think that ultimately you're not going to find somebody, or your process with it isn't going to be as rich. I think a lot of people get caught up in trying to be a certain way, trying to present themselves in a certain way, so that people like them, and then they lose kind of their core essence of who they are. So they're showing up for all these dates and they're doing all the work, but maybe they're not being as authentically themselves as they could be, and if they were to do that, people would love them. So I think that's a no-no for both sides, for men and women, is to try to be how they think people want them to be, rather than just being who they are.